Hey guys, it's Yanni here with your DMV team. Today we're talking about how to go about getting down payment, money, and funds. So today we're talking about, I think one of the most important things when purchasing a house or a home is down payment. How to go about getting those funds and money for down payment. Obviously that could be a lot of money for a lot of people. So I wanted to bring Mike from Movement Mortgage here to talk about different options. So the most obviously logical when it comes to getting the money for down payment is to save yourself. Save. Typically, first-time home buyers or whatnot can qualify for properties with as little as 3% for down payment. So in terms of numbers, if you're buying a house for about $300,000, you're talking about at least $10,000 or so. But let's say you're in a position where you want to buy closer in, or you don't have the money. What options are there? What resources are there that you can use to get that money? And so again, Mike will be here to chat about that. So there's a few options. So he'll kind of go down. What's one that you would say a lot of people use, Mike?
Yeah, one of the most common ways to get down payment funds when you don't have the money available in the bank is a gift. Both FHA and conventional loans allow for down payment that comes from a gift. So for example, you need to put down 3%, 3.5%. You don't have those funds available. However, your family member can give you those funds. Maybe your employer can give you those funds. You can use those funds for down payment, and it works totally fine within the framework of FHA, conventional, as well as some other loan types.
Okay. And now in terms of gifts, typically it's family members or employers. But when it comes to friends or anything that's outside blood or family, is there any rules about that?
Right. So FHA and conventional, you do want to have a family member or a employer giving that gift. There are situations where if you can document the long-standing relationship with a friend, you can get a gift from them as well. What the guidelines are kind of trying to avoid is the idea that a friend's just going to give you some money and you're going to pay them that money back, which wouldn't be a gift, it'd be a loan. So you do want to typically try to focus on a gift from family or employer, and in some situations, potentially a friend, if you can document the relationship.
And again, I think in terms of when you're going outside the lines of family, it's much harder, and because of documentation that's needed and whatnot. So, but again, family, employer, gifts can be used. Talk to me about 401k or 403b, I believe. What options you have? I know a few of our clients have been able to use that.
Absolutely. I have a lot of clients that do not have the funds available for down payment liquid in their bank account ready to take out immediately. However, they do have retirement plans. So that's going to be a 401k, a 403b, as well if you're a government employee, that would be a TSP, a thrift savings plan. All of those plans will typically have some kind of ability to borrow against the plan. You're getting a loan for the money and then you pay it back over time through your payroll. That's totally fine as well for conventional and FHA loans. If you have a situation where you're looking at an old 401k, an old 403b where you're not working for that company anymore, there are also situations where you can take the money out. You will pay taxes on that money, but if you're buying for a first time, there's often exemptions that allow you to take the money out and you don't get hit with a penalty. So if it's for a current employer, you can borrow money against your 401k, 403b, TSP. If it's for a former employer, you can potentially pull money out and pay taxes, but avoid certain penalties that you would normally have if you were just pulling money out before a certain age.
Yeah, and this is, again, a great option for a lot of first-time home buyers or people that are buying, and a lot of our clients have used it. Now, and typically in each jurisdiction, Virginia, Maryland, or DC, there are actually down payment assistance programs, loan programs, or grant programs. So talk about it a little bit, just briefly on that.
Yeah, absolutely. There are county as well as state, sometimes city programs which will provide you down payment assistance. Some of them are funds that they give you that you owe back over time, maybe if you sell, or you owe it back, forever. The other options are sometimes they give you down payment funds in the form of a grant and you never owe it back. Whatever county you're looking in, whether it's Maryland, Virginia, or DC, there's likely some program that exists. You would have to look and kind of verify that your credit and income meets their criteria, but that's also another option for a down payment. It's going to be assistance from the state, county, or city.
Yeah, and again, a lot of our clients have utilized this as well, and it really you have to at least talk with a lender that can look at your situation and see if you do qualify based on your income and credit and other factors that they have. Okay, so we've gone over a couple of different options, obviously gifts, 401k, 403b, down payment assistance programs in the different areas. Now there's also important things to note with with these things that you need to be aware of. One is cash. A lot of people sometimes have cash outside the bank or not in their bank account. So talk to them about seasoning and what you guys need to see.
Absolutely, that's a issue that we run into probably most often working with people on mortgage loans. Clients will have cash for down payment, which is normal to some extent. However, in a mortgage transaction, all funds have to be sourced and seasoned. Meaning, if you're going to be doing a transaction with myself or any mortgage professional, they're going to look back the last 60 days, 2 months bank statements to see, do you have any out of the ordinary large deposits? Payroll deposits, those are fine. They can be sourced easy. There's a paycheck connected to it. You're not going to get any questions. However, deposits of cash just going into your bank account, you will be asked where those funds came from. If you cannot source them, which is provide the proper documentation, those funds will essentially have to be backed out. So you may have a bank account with $20,000 in it. However, if the half of those funds in the bank are just cash deposits, which you cannot show where those funds came from, you would get credit for $10,000. So you can have scenarios where you actually have the funds for down payment, but you cannot show where they came from. And from a mortgage transaction, it would create a situation where you wouldn't qualify. So the best thing I can say in terms of advice, if you have cash laying around under your bed, wherever, in a safe, if you're starting to prepare to purchase a home, get that money into the bank. Let it sit there for a couple of cycles, meaning at least 2 bank statements. And therefore, when I do request, or any mortgage professional does request 2 statements from you, there will not be any large deposits that can effectively stop you from buying a home. I can get into the real specifics, what's considered a large deposit. On an FHA transaction, it's 1% or more of your purchase price. On a conventional transaction, it's 50% of your gross monthly income. However, you may be speaking to a lender that has a different kind of guideline. So my best advice to you is, if you're dealing with cash, get that money in the bank and let it season for at least 2 months or more so that it can show up on your last 2 bank statements.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb is at least before 2 months. So get that money in, and so it shows up at least 2 months before. And another thing is, I know, especially in a lot of people that I know in the community, they do what we call these, money sharing groups, or I guess what you guys call the private sharing groups, where you put money in every month or every week, and when it's your turn, you take money out with that large deposit. So speak on that a little bit quickly.
Absolutely. So these kind of sharing clubs, or we call them private sharing clubs, private savings clubs, technically these are allowed. However, you need to really have the right documentation to source that you've been putting money in every week, that there's some kind of written agreement between everybody within the group, that this is not a loan back, this is actually you getting back your funds on your week. So if you can document it, then you can use those funds. However, I'd probably point back to what I just mentioned about seasoning funds. If you're in one of these private savings club and you know that your week is going to come up, 8, 9, 10 weeks out, but you want to purchase a home before, your best bet is to trade a week with someone else in the group, get the funds, get it in your bank, and let it sit there again for 2 months. That's the best advice I can give for those kind of setups.
Yeah, that's good information, Mike. Again, it goes back to, for large deposits, large amount of money that's not in the bank, put it in your account, and it shows up in your statements at least 2 months before. So again, hopefully that was beneficial, but this is important. Again, the biggest part of buying a house is the down payment. And so you may have it because you've saved, that's great. But you may need some help or different options and whatnot. These are some of the things that we talked about. Again, obviously, if you have any other questions, I'm here, Mike is here. So hopefully this was beneficial. If it was, please pass it on. Again, Yanni here with your DMV team.